Good afternoon and welcome to a little bit of a delayed start on this particular Digital Solutions one. I made the mistake. I copied in the wrong link, so I do apologize for the wrong link being in there. Hopefully you've picked that up. I did send out another reminder to everyone, so hopefully we'll have a few more people joining us now that I've cleared that up. This will be recorded, so no problem if you have to drop out or if you've been someone who is going to arrive really late on this. I do apologize. We will carry on though, and I've got the recording, the guide, all the bits and pieces I'll send to you as soon as we get this one doing. It's a really fast one today. We're not going to go deeply into making very deep, very complicated websites, just very basic landing pages you can copy into your web hosting and kind of go from there. So to get started, I'm going to share my screen and we'll have a look at ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini to do this. So we can cover off a few of the different AI systems to help you out with that. As I said, thank you for joining, and I do apologize for the delay in getting that correct link out to you. It was all my fault. I did copy the wrong one in there. Sometimes when you're creating 30 of these at once, you can lose track of which one's which in the reminder emails. So you can see in front of you, we've got ChatGPT. So using, you don't need to go into anything special to use this. I know like some people think you have to go into things like agents and Codex, which is ChatGPT's special one. In Claude, they think, oh, I've got to go into Claude Code or I've got to do co-work or something like that. But look, for more complicated stuff, that may be the case. Google Gemini, you don't have to set up a gem. You don't have to use anything special. You don't use a special version of their AI systems. You can just use everyday access to all the chats. So whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini, all good. So let's start with ChatGPT. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a couple of websites that I think are things that I want to be able to use. So one of those may be, let's just go have a look. So like examples of great web design. So I'm just going to look on Google to see things. Websites that pop sound exactly what I want to do. And what I'm doing here is looking for some ideas of website designs that I want to try and replicate in some way. I don't want to copy them exactly. I want to replicate some of the styling and the layout that they've done. So we're looking at maybe the BITS Technology Group, although let's go a bit more realistic for what we're doing in this program. Maybe Hire Republic, you could go like that. It's kind of beautiful, good enough for where you can hire out some event stuff. Maybe we can take that. So let's just go and find the actual site. Looks pretty good. Like the look of that. View the live site. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that as the example of the site that I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to build a one-page website that is based on the design, content, and colors of this site. But my business is called, let's just call it Aussie Party Hire Services. And I'm based in, let's just say, Malul. I should have chosen an easier place to play. Maybe Sippy Downs on the Sunshine Coast of Queensland. Terrible typing. What the heck is going on with me today? So first he gets all the links wrong, and now he's trying to make this work wrong. Okay, coast of Queensland. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to put in things like, phone number is, let's just make something up, 0423 232 565, and address is 15, let's say Mullaney Road, Sippy Downs, Queensland. Okay, let's see what it does in a basic. And I can put this on all three of them. And it's going to then go into a process which is going to start making all these things. I'm not going to try and use the very top versions of any of these, because really what I want is something that's going to come up fairly fast for us. So you can see that you don't necessarily need to use like what we call the frontier models. So this is going to continue to work in it. So we can do it in work. So I just want to do it in chat. You don't need to do it in work, because it doesn't need to go and do anything really that significant. Claude's going to get underway. Gemini is going to get underway. It's going to save the code as an index.html file that can open in any browser. That seems like what we're looking for. So I'm waiting for that to start rendering now. Claude's doing its thing. ChatGPT is doing its thing. First of all, it's looking at the site that we use as the reference piece. Claude is going to do the same, looking at the site. It's looking at the design files of it. And you'll find the same thing is going on here. So it's just the difference is Gemini does it so quick. Like that's really quick. It's actually built it already. Doesn't mean it's necessarily any good though. So what we want to do is try and see a version of this. So we can download the code or copy it, and I can bring it over into a file. Let's download it first, and then I can actually open that up. Wow, that's pretty quick. How quick is that? The problem is the things like this form here won't work. It won't send to anything because I've got no built-in code that will allow that to happen. Everything else here is great though. For a one-page website, that's done really well. It's contextualized it into the Sunshine Coast, Aussie Party Hire. It's essentially built it. Now, that's a really good example of how quick it can be. Get a fast quote. I'd probably take that out. So what I can do is go back into there and say, remove contact form. People can use email and phone. And I could also do things like include a specific, a version of our of the logo. So if there's a particular logo that I could link through to, I could do that as well. Let's download that code again, give it a run. And now it's actually made a big mistake in there. So that's not a good start. Oh, it's still writing. I hadn't given it enough chance to actually write. Here we go. Pick it up. Let's go. Okay, there's the new version. So it should now have removed. Yep, and it's just got the list of the contact details. Pretty good. You can start playing with that, but obviously I've just told to copy what it had already in place. So that's just running locally on my computer. What we'll do shortly is we'll look at what we need to do to put that onto the internet. So if that was ours. There's also the problem though, what if we want to change anything? And that's the problem with AI generated websites is you have to go back in here to be able to do anything with it. The problem is this is in some chat and you're going to look through here and go, okay, what do I need to change? Where I can't even see it on there. Usually it would show you, there's a preview version. If I was using what we see here is a canvas. So if I wanted to view it on the canvas, that's where I'd see it. So what you can do is, you can, branch it over into new chats and sort of hopefully do that in Canvas over there. So I'm going to branch it into a new chat and I'm going to go Canvas. And so what I'm going to do is now do updates to that. So let's just say, for instance, I want to change the red features to yellow. So change red feature to yellow. And so what it's going to do now that it's building in this canvas is going to give me the ability to be able to see the updates actually as it's doing them. So it's going to be a little easier to work with where you can see changes as you're doing them. These guys work very much the same way. It's just Claude's going into a lot more depth in what it's doing. It's going to create something much more complicated, as is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT's done it. It's got its code there. It's now got it. I've just got to allow everything. Allow. Right. So as you can probably see, this is sensational. It's not anything like the site that it was based on, but that is like a pretty incredible website. Like, I'm not going to lie, that is awesome. For one pages, I can do things like, oops, here we go. I can look at, come on, allow. I can do things like remove these forms. The phone number thing's fine. It's based on the content that was in the site. But yeah, it's actually created a little logo of sorts. It's done a really good job. I want to remove that. So I do the same thing. So I just change this over again to show the code. And I could make changes in there. But what we'll do, we're not coders. We're going to go down here and let's just say remove the email form, as people can just choose between, I don't know, email and phone number, and it'll do the same thing. Now, mind you, I ran that in the very medium, the default, almost the free version of ChatGPT, and it built that. Over here, we've got something completely different. So Claude has done like something else altogether. But these things are a bit overlapped because it's like squished into a smaller space. If I was to sort of drive that out a bit more, I see the full thing. So if I go, let's download that as HTML, and now I'll open that up in my browser. That's the full thing. Not bad at all. A lot less full on than the version ChatGPT did, which was amazing. Let's see what the ChatGPT one looks like once we've actually done it. So we're going to download that code. I'll look at the code. I want to download you. There we go. And let's see what that looks like in full. So that is like, it's way over the top and way big, and it's got some problems here with like light instructions on light backgrounds. We can fix all that. But that's a pretty sensational website for something that was created in less than a few minutes. That's pretty amazing, to be honest. So I'm pretty keen on that. That looks good. We've got our Claude one over here, which looks good as well. And then we've got our Gemini one, which is now looking actually pretty plain compared to the other ones. Like, that's looking pretty plain. But see, that change I made changed everything to yellow. So it's got yellow highlights on there now. So that's great. We've got a decent looking thing. We know that we can change things in the chats themselves. So for instance, I could change heading font to currently it's like a Cooper bold kind of thing. So I'm going to do maybe something like Helvetica bold. And then it's going to go through and change that throughout the whole file. And in this one, I'm just going to ask it to reduce the huge font sizes by 50%, as they are way too big to be seen on a single screen. So it went really, really super size in the design. And so what it's now doing is making those changes for us. So we'll be able to download those and do again. So in this case, this has now changed it into Helvetica. So probably not as nice a example, but that is a little less party-ish, which is probably the problem, and a little bit more formal with a different font. Same with our Aussie Hire services. It's now reduced those fonts much more. So if we now look at that in the new version, that's way more readable, but still looks pretty insane. Like, it looks awesome. Like, ChatGPT at the moment is doing amazing design. It's also including images. So those images are AI images that it's made itself, that it's then put in there. So and it may have actually brought in some from other sources as well. So you'd need to make sure that your photos, and you can then go into ChatGPT and say, replace this background photo with this thing that I'm uploading, and you upload an image, or you create an image to go in there. What we want to do is make this go live. And I'm using a particular web host called SiteGround. And in my SiteGround account, I've got lots of accounts that I use in there to host websites. And this is where I host things like my digital guides, all that sort of thing. And in this case, this is one of the more easy to use web hosting systems. I can go into my websites. Let's just say I'm using this one, ASOC. So I go to my site tools. Just most web hosts will have this kind of interface. They usually call it something like cPanel. This one's called Site Tools. So some of them are slightly different to others, but they all work the same on based around a file manager. And in that file manager, I will go into my public HTML. That's where everything that's live on the internet under this domain is in there. And I've got lots of folders in there for that. I'm going to build a folder. We're going to call it Party Hire. And what it's telling us now is the website is going to be, once I go into Party Hire, it's going to be, if you see here, asoc.com.au/ ignore that bit, the public HTML, and Party Hire. So asoc.com.au/ Party Hire will be the location of this website. But I need to create the file that's going to be the file that gets loaded. And that file will always be called index.html. You might have seen that come up before in Claude. It was saying, I'm going to create this in index.html. That's the file that will be filled. We open up the file, and what we're going to do is put the code in here for Aussie Party Hire services. I'm going to grab that code. I can do it by copying here, the code, copy, go into my file, paste that, and then save. If I now go to asoc.com.au / Party Hire, we've now got a live website on the internet, or a live web page, really. It's just really just one page. but that's now live on the internet. Now, of course, you're always going to want to change things and make different things differently. That I understand. So you'll then have to go back every time you make a change, back over in the chat GPT, make the changes in that chat, which I highly would say you probably need to pin it or move it to a project. In this case, I'm going to move this to a new project. And in there, Aussie hire, party hire or something, website. And in there, it's like everything you're going to do is at least filed away somewhere where I can easily find it again. It's the problem with the chats over here on the left. And the same thing with Claude, you got like all these chats everywhere. Same with Gemini, you're going to have a bunch of these chats all down here. You want to file it away somewhere where you can get to it again. In this case, it's going to be projects. Open up projects, and there's always going to be this one here. You can pin it if it's something you're going to work on a lot, or you can just leave it in your list of projects, which will always be showing there. If I go show more, it'll show you then all the projects. In this case, Aussie Party Hire, I can then continue creating on that. So go in there again, and it'll continue that chat on and on and on. And it should be able to hold all the information in there and still be able to do a pretty good job. So that's live on the internet. The same thing will happen with any of the code for the others. So in Claude's case, we'll just grab that code again. You just go copy, and you go, let's just say we'll call this one a slightly different name. So we'll go into Party Hire and call this one Claude.html. So new file, Claude.html. And save. Now, if we go here and tag on Claude.html, there is our Claude version, live on the internet, all there. Live on, yeah, pretty quick to make this live on the internet when you're using a pretty simple to use website hosting platform. Now, I wouldn't recommend necessarily if you're just getting started to go with SiteGround. It's one of the more expensive platforms. You're paying for the convenience. The reality is, though, that you can get web hosting for as little as $4 to $6 a month, and that will then be the one cost apart from a domain name that you actually have to use to put something online. There are free methods. There's one that you can do through Cloudflare, but honestly, when you're first getting started out, it's going to be difficult. It's not going to help you out with email. So if you want email, you won't be able to do that through them. You'd have to use something in a third party like Microsoft 365 or Google Business, or Google Workplace. I should know because that's what I use, Google Workspace. So you'll be able to use those third-party emails to do that. The problem is with Cloudflare, you can't do that. You'd have to point it off to somewhere else. Whilst the web page will be fine, that'll be great. You won't have the ability to be able to just add email onto it out of the box. Whereas in this, I can actually create email from it. So down here, I'll have email included in there, and I can have that pointing through to my, my Outlook inbox, or if I'm using Thunderbird from Firefox or something like that, where I'm using email to come into my desktop computer. And then I could do the same pretty much with that Gemini one. I could create a Gemini.html. But what will happen, how websites work, is that inside this public HTML that's inside my asoc.com.au, you'll see that when I go to Party Hire, remember the Claude one I had the name, but the index one I didn't. So if I go back, you'll notice up here where it says Party Hire, there's nothing saying index.html. And that's because that's considered to be the default to any folder. So inside a folder, you could have 50 different things called 50 different things, and then one called index.html. That's the one which is the default for the website. That's the home page, if you like. And index.html is the first thing that comes up. So you don't have to type in index.html. I can do that, index.html, and it'll show me the same page, but I can also remove it, and there you go. It still shows that same site. And all those links will work. I would probably want to take out that that there. We don't need that in there because honestly, it's not going to work. You can make it work with a bit of extra help. And if you wanted to have a system that had logins and all that sort of thing, that's a whole other set of things you need to do, which is then getting into the point where you've got, back-end systems, like for instance, in the thing I'm starting to build. So let's have a look at this. This is my website I'm starting to build for myself. It's actually got a back end, which if I type in login, I think it's login. the DSJ login.php, I think it is. And then there's a backend, access in there. So asoc.com.au/DSJ. It should be down here somewhere. Articles DSJ. Nope, it's gone away. Login.php. There it is. Here. So that's the backend I've created. But that took me hours of backwards and forwards with the AI tools to get it to create a backend so that when I add a new resource, such as an article or those things, then I've got a backend that creates the stuff that you'll see on the front end. So it'll then go, okay, here's my resources, here's my articles. It'll create one of these, and then that's all it does. It doesn't let me edit these pages. I have to do that in the AI tool as well. So, but you can go and create a whole WordPress-like environment or Wix-like environment, which has drag and drop. Just be prepared to lose a weekend or two because you're going to be doing a lot of work in your AI tools. And you can't really do that level of development through the free versions. You really do have to pay to get access to all that kind of depth. But that's really just the start of it. You can go and pick what you like. So in my case, pick out a site that you like the look of, or if you've got some idea that you can articulate into there of what you like, you can go, I want to see banners and bunting. I want to see, fun party-like fonts. I want to see something that's bright and vivid and very, very, high impact. Well, then describe it as that. Describe your colors, describe the fonts if you have a choice of fonts. And once you built it, you're essentially taking that code and bringing it across to here. Now, a really talented person can go into that code and change words. So for instance, where it says, I'd like a quote, I could change that to we'd like a quote and save it. In this case, I need to then go and clear my cache so that it changes the version of it. So I can go into that version over here, Aussie Party Hire, wherever it is over here, and then refresh. And then where it said, I want a quote, it says like where we want a quote, where it happens to be. Don't even know where it is on that page. I think it's actually on the other one. Where did I change it? Anyway, that's what you would do. I'll probably change it on the Claude version, not the other version. So I go to the Claude version, Claude.html. There we go. And you're looking for a quote. So we're looking for the word quote. I can't even see where it's meant to be, but wherever that was, it's now changed that word to we are looking for a quote rather than I am looking for a quote. If you're particularly, very, very detail oriented, you can probably read through that code and you can find where it's living. You can do things like inserting Google Analytics code. You can grab your Meta Pixel if you're linking meta ads to it. You can change, any of these text words in there. But just understand that when you start messing with code, you're potentially breaking things. And it's not like you can just undo in here once you've saved it. You can't. You'd have to go back to your AI tool, get the original file, download it again, put it back in your file manager, and then off you go. I'm guessing you're probably going to need to watch some of this stuff again because I don't move too quickly, but there was a lot of options in there. And you may want to go, okay, I really would like some help with that. So one of the ways you can do that is to be part of the Digital Solutions Program. And what they'll allow you to do is to access people like me who can help you out with stuff like this. So we can spend some time, putting together the ideas that you want to put together to help you to do these things. And yeah, if you want to, be able to build something, you want to be able to build something with logins, you want to be able to maybe, over 5 hours, we could probably do that for $110. It gives you 5 hours on the program, which is dedicated to someone like myself or one of the many other advisors we've got across the network in Queensland, Northern Territory, and Western Australia who can help you out with this kind of stuff. All you need to do is go into this site, which is, if you just look up Busy Business online, usually I've got a QR code I can lead you to. So the Busy Business website, I'll just share that so you can see it. Here we go. So in here, you can go to How We Help at busybusiness.com.au under digital support, one-to-one digital advisory support. And there you can see that there. You can get started and fill out the form, which takes you through a little bit of a questionnaire about the nature of your business. stuff we have to provide to the government because they're funding all this for us. I'm definitely not paid $110 for those 5 hours. I'm paid a bit more, but what it does is allows you to sort of give us a bit of a heads up on what it is you're looking for so we can help you out. But yeah, Ali just said she's on SiteGround and they have 80% of all their plans if you buy 1 year's worth at $12.49 a month for the most expensive one instead of, yeah, there you go, $64.99. I've got big expensive ones because they're, they've got lots of websites on them. But yeah, $12.49 a month isn't ridiculous in the bigger scheme of things, especially if it's something that you're using for your business. Hopefully that's been helpful. I will send you, if you register for this, I'll send you the link to the YouTube video. I just got to edit it down and load it up. So give me around about 30 minutes and they'll be ready for you. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend and hopefully I'll see you in the next one of these as well. Thanks. See you later.